Analyzing and contextualizing the quarterback performances from Week 11 in college football, Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt star, is our quarterback of the week.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's a director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Got to talk quarterbacks, guys. QB of the week coming off of week 11 of college football. We're going to talk about our quarterback of the week, our stock risers, and our stock fallers of the week as well. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to use freely across the app. QB of the week, Keith, and I got to go to Mr. Pavia, Diego. That type of performance against Auburn, and not this, let me put into context for those who didn't see the game. This wasn't the Auburn offense that has not been scoring points. Like,
right.
Auburn had 200-yard receivers and a 100-yard rusher, and their quarterback threw for over 300 yards. So that lets you know that Diego Pavia was in the fight of his life to stay within range of in this game. You know, I talked about yesterday with Kelvin Falk. I think he recovered a fumble and everything like that. Like this game could have gotten out of hand if Auburn defense could have gotten some stops with the offense scoring. Diego Pavia, 76% completion percentage, 377 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns. I believe he added a little over 100 yards rushing, like 112 on the ground. 6 foot, I think he's like 210 or something like that, like, 200 pounds. Still got to see how his game translates to the league. But when they needed him, Keith, this dude stepped up. He balled. And again, making the throws. I like what I think he works well in the quick game, getting the ball out, early and stuff like that, especially on like quick out routes. The connection between him and Eli Stowers is just strong. It's a strong connection. And just the ability to get the ball to your playmaker, let him go make the plays for you. And then when I need to break your back, I'm going to use my legs. I'm going to break your back. I'm going to break the will. You thought you had me contained in the pocket. You thought you had everybody covered. And I just scampered for 25 yards, first down. It's like the way he plays is annoying and demoralizing for a defense. Like that's like it's because you think 3rd and 10, we got you dead to rights. Everybody's covered. And then he rattles off a 20-yard run, and you're like, come on, man. Like, the offense, you're probably sitting there like Jamar Chase, 1 F and stop. Can we get 1 F and stop? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the situation. So shout out to Diego Pavia, man. Balled out, Keith. QB of the week for me.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that for the QB of the week conversation, right? And you add context to everything that is Vanderbilt entering this game, right? Obviously fighting for playoff seeding, right? Then you're playing Auburn, right? And Auburn coming off of firing the head coach, so you have a brand new situation. But also, it was much like the LSU situation where your players are kind of galvanized a little bit, right? Like they kind of getting up for this game, things like that. And then you come in, you face Auburn, and Diego, like you said, he just went swing for swing, right? Went punch for punch, and then he ultimately had the last say, right? Obviously, with them winning the football game, and he has. It's a creative chaos that's controlled for him, right? And it's a very weird way, and that's the best way I could explain, because I literally just did his scouting report too. So I did a deep dive on him, and I'm like, there are a lot of things that shouldn't happen well from these situations that happen well. Yeah. And that's probably, and you talked about it as a defense, that's probably the most annoying thing, that I'm putting you in very difficult situations. And your answer is this, right? And I can't even prepare for that answer, right? So no. It's very difficult, but I definitely want to give a shout out to him. I want to give a shout out to Marcel Reed also, because I thought that he had a pretty efficient game, and that game against Missouri, it was kind of weird, right? Like they wasn't a lot of points, then it was points, and then it was point running the football, and then it was I think they went back to back, like A&M and Missouri back to back, like 50-yard rushing touchdowns or something like
Missouri ran for like they had 2 running backs over 100 yards. Like,
yeah,
they couldn't throw the ball, but they ran it like all day.
Yeah, it was crazy. But just looking at Marcel Reed, DP, and just being efficient, right? Texas A&M, I think they rank number 2, number 3, somewhere in there, polls and playoffs and things like that. But he's playing, in my opinion, good football, and we're watching him take some steps forward and looking at him as a potential, not even potential, he is a dual threat quarterback. I keep saying this, that I wonder when is the question mark of these physical traits can be what in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I wonder when that conversation is going to start, not just us, but like nationally big media wise. Is this a potential quarterback that people want to get their hands on to work with?
Yeah, that's why I can't wait to do like the actual deep dive into his game. Because I think up until this game, I was just watching them live. I'm like, man, he does a lot of off script. He's a gamer. He's tough. You know what I mean? He's going to talk his talk. Love the attitude and everything like that. I'm like, what's going to happen when it's true drop back sets? Can he carry the offense throwing the football? When they say, hey, now granted, we haven't. I think the only team that was able to limit him as a runner for the most part was Bama. I think that was the only team. That was a game they lost. And I was like, well, what happens? From an NFL standpoint, projecting them. I'm like, all right. That's why that's the question that I'm having. Like, okay, I need to get that question answered. Like once I get to this film, because I'm like, okay, project you to the league. What happens when you get to an offense and they say, hey, we wanted you to throw the ball more. We want you to run it. You know what I mean? In college, you can kind of get away with running the ball like that. We've seen numerous guys do it. And then it's like you get to the NFL and it's like, hey, be an efficient quarterback from the pocket. Let your legs be a second fiddle to your passing ability, right? So that's why I'm excited to get into his film all the way, Keith, and really see how he projects to the league. Because then it's like, okay, well, if he projects well, what round? When are we drafting this guy? Because again, he's 6 foot, probably around 210. And I think that's going to be probably the big thing. Is like, all right, teams buying into his height size, and weight and the size profile as well, and not just hey, he's a good runner. I think his arm is good, stuff like that. Because he had one throw. Oh man, he felt pressure. He spun out of the pocket to the left, going to the left, got his shoulder squared, and just ripped a deep shot. You know what I mean? Probably 30, 40 yards down the field, hit the receiver in stride down the left sideline. I was like, okay, Diego, that's how we starting this thing off. I see you. You know what I mean? So like he's got the tools. It's going to be all about team buying into the size profile, and can he consistently play in the pocket when they need him to, and when defenses dictate that action and say, hey, we're not letting you out the pocket in the NFL. Yeah, because I mean, truthfully, Keith, I mean, he might want to. I mean, you look at it. I'll say this: don't do it exactly like Jackson Dart, because I got concerns about his long-term health. Like he just run. Jackson Dart's running the brick walls, man. I'm just like, Jackson, I need you to slide, big dog. Protect yourself.
I mean, listen, and take a page out of the Jaden Daniels book, right? And in the sense of the fact of, remember we talked about that, like having concerns of like, yo, you have to find a way not to get hit. Because remember it was like the Florida State game, and he just like jumped over a pile of people, defenders, that
got like suplex. Like it was
it was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. So I agree with you. Don't take the Jackson Dart, because I mean it's going to come up too on that end.
100%.
So let's do this, DP. We talked quarterbacks of the week, man. Let's do stock risers, right? A couple quarterbacks whose stock elevated from this past weekend's performances. We're talking 2026 NFL draft prospects. Talk about that coming up next.
If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply do not work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Plus, it keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team's making that late game fourth quarter push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Again, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 back in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com right now to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Stock rising performances, Keith. A guy we've talked about, I feel like ad nauseum on this show, but he's trending in the right direction. So got to give him his love, Keith. And we talked about him. I think you might have talked about him on Friday. Cade Klubnik for Clemson. Clemson beat Florida State. It was so crazy, Keith. It just kind of talked about the state of these two programs. I was watching two other games. I forgot they were playing. Like, you know what I mean? I forgot that game was on.
And that's a game that preseason, right? You circling that thing.
You circle that game.
And saying this is like for my college football weekly or my watch list for the entire season, this is a must watch. And
gotta see it.
The crazy part is, DP, you said you forgot that it was on. I didn't see much of it either, to be honest with you. I was like, oh wait, yeah, this game, because I think it wasn't even on. Was it on the ACC network? I believe
it might have been. Yeah, I think so.
I think it was on the ACC network.
Yeah, I ended up watching I forgot it was on at first. I did turn to it, watch a little bit of it, and then of course I watched the film the next morning and everything. But Cade was good, man. Cade looked good in this game. And the thing for me is efficiency, right? He was efficient in this game, Keith. And for me, it's just that's what I wanted to see. He was like 20 of 27, 74% completion percentage, 220 yards passing. He had a passing touchdown, and he had a rushing touchdown. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. And again, I mentioned it last week. I'm telling you, he's trending in the right direction for me because they ran a flea flicker, right? They ran a flea flicker. It was a long ball touchdown to Antonio Williams. But with the flea flicker, there was pressure. So typically when you get the flea flicker, like there's nobody back there. The quarterback can just sit, no, he had to move because I don't know if Adam Randall pitched it late. I don't know what happened, but he handed it off. Adam Randall did the whole thing, a press line scrimmage, tossed it back, and then here's a free runner. I'm like, oh my God, this is dead to rights. Cade moves, evades, kind of rips through, resets, and just launches it. And then Antonio Williams climbed the ladder, went over the defender, snatched it off the top shelf and everything. But again, I go back to the beginning of the season, Keith, when Cade was not confident and comfortable, he's not making that play. He's not making that play in the pocket. He's getting sacked. You know what I mean? Or he's throwing the ball, putting it in harm's way, throwing it into pressure, things like that, throwing it into coverage. No, like this back-to-back weeks where you see him move efficiently and properly in the pocket to evade the rush and make the right throw in the right way. And of course, both times he threw it to Antonio Williams. Same thing last week too. So, I got to give love to Cade, man. I think, again, not saying his stock is rising, guys, back to projected top 10, top 15 pick and everything. But again, it's all about making us forget the first half of the season happened. And so far right now, he's doing that.
Yeah, and it's about making people believe that they were right. And what I'm saying is that the different draft pundits and different conversations, right? Like for some people, Cade Klubnik entered the season as QB1. Like they thought he was the best quarterback in the entire draft class. Which we are so far from that. This is crazy.
Right.
When you think about just some of the draft narratives that were coming into the season, especially with the quarterback position. But you want people to be like, okay, so I wasn't all the way wrong, right? And be able to go to what they've seen. And I think if he's able to finish the season and close the season out in a good spot, and I don't know, DP, I don't know if you have Clemson's schedule up. I don't know bowl game wise what they can potentially get into. They may still be bowl eligible. I know they just lost to SMU. And maybe they have enough wins to get to a bowl game. I know they're fighting.
They can. They have 4 wins right now. I think to be bowl eligible, you need 6. So they go to Louisville on the 14th. So I think this Saturday they go to Louisville. Then they host Furman. That's a dub. And then they go to South Carolina. And South Carolina they're not playing good football either.
Yeah, so you want to, and for Cade's sake, the reason I'm saying the bowl game and why it's so important as they're becoming less and less important. You need every game you could get. When it comes to we talked about it, right? Cade was the quarterback that we talked. I know we talked about it on yesterday's podcast. Which quarterback did we talk about eligibility? I believe Cade's done, right? So senior. You need every game you can possibly get. So whatever bowl game it is, fire it up. let's go play, right? Let's go play.
100%.
And let me see if I can play well. Deep, I'm gonna talk about this guy. I don't think we've discussed much this entire season, and I believe he was hurt earlier this season. Against, was it TCU they were playing, and he got injured. And he started off kind of rocky, right? You're talking about 3, 5, 6 interceptions in 4 weeks, but he's kind of slowed it down some. And that's SMU quarterback Kevin Jennings. And everybody familiar with him last year, right? SMU made the playoff run. Everybody was excited about them, things like that. Conversation just hasn't been the same because SMU has a few losses, right? I believe they have 3 losses on a season, but Kevin Jennings himself is coming off of back-to-back 300-yard performances. And he's playing solid football, and everybody knows him as a dual threat quarterback, but the rushing numbers haven't quite been there. And I'll say this, that means that he's trying to develop as a passer. And reason this is important because you take teams like the Baltimore Ravens where you have a Lamar Jackson who was injured. And we discussed this on his podcast, and we were like, why did they sign Cooper Rush? Like why Cooper Rush doesn't fit with and then historically the Ravens have always had kind of a dual threat quarterback to back up Lamar Jackson, right? I think even early on there was a time where RG3 was there, and like they've always had
RG3, Snoop Huntley, they always had a mobile quarterback behind them.
Yeah, all of these different guys. So I look at a Kevin Jennings, and you're asking yourself, okay, can I play myself back into the back end of the draft, 5th, 6th, 7th round, and I'm a quarterback that can come in, obviously do some different things, maybe potential play slot wide receiver, but I can be the backup quarterback if there's an injury and we don't have to totally switch offenses in what we do.
Yeah, no, shout out to him, being able to play to play at the level he's playing right now, because they're running the ball. And this is, again, they're a tough team. They're a physical team. And because they knocked off somebody a couple weeks ago.
Clemson.
It was Clemson. They beat Clemson. I feel like it was somebody else they beat. And I was like, shoot, that's pretty darn good. You know what I mean? Because I was like, well, I don't think they were favored to win that game.
I'm sorry. They beat Clemson. It was Miami.
Miami, that's right. It was a Miami game and everything. And he's listed at 6 foot 192. Dual threat kid, like you said, Keith, coming off a back-to-back 300+ yard performances, 4 passing touchdowns to 1 interception ratio, and everything like that. And he's also added, so he's got 5 total touchdowns to 1 interception over the last 2 games. He's peaking right now from what it looks like. So shout out to him. Keith, I'm gonna go to another dual threat guy. I've talked about him before in this pod. I haven't done a deep dive into his film yet, but watching him live, this is how I feel, Keith. I feel like Byrum Brown from USF, South Florida quarterback. I feel like he continues to just play well. He had 9 carries for 109 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown against UTSA, but he was 14 of 15, 93% completion percentage, 239 yards passing, and 2 touchdowns. Didn't put the ball in harm's way. He was making big plays as a passer and as a runner. And I'll say this is what I want to say, Keith. To me, somebody's going to try and look to recreate the Jalen Hurts experiment in terms of getting the guy that, hey, people didn't view him as a first-round pick coming out, right? Mm-hmm. But he had tools. You know, he was a good runner. He was powerful, good speed, good arm, especially accurate throwing the ball down the field and outside the numbers. You know what I mean? All those type of things. And then you put him in an offense where, hey, we need to go ahead and find somebody that protects the football, somebody that knows how to manage the game, play smart. I see the same things with the Byrum Brown. He just needs the opportunity at the next level. And again, not saying that you draft him second round like you drafted Jalen Hurts, but if an offensive coordinator says, you know what, I believe this young man could have a same career trajectory, I could draft you top of the third round, top of the day 3, rounds 4 or 5, somewhere in there, stash you, nurture your game, mature your game, really watch you develop behind an established veteran, and then go from there. Because, Keith, I'll say this. The Arizona Cardinals is a team that need to figure out what the quarterback situation is going to look like for them going forward. It's not it can't be Jacoby Brissett for the next 3-4 years. You got to figure that out because they're already talking about potential. They're already talking about moving away and they can cut bait from Kyler Murray. So if that's the case, Keith, hey, you draft this young man, let's say 4th round, but you signed another veteran, or if you believe Jacoby Brissett can get the job done for a full season because he's unlocking Marv and stuff like that, you just put more pieces around him, cool. Jacoby Brissett is also a type of quarterback that's a great mentor to young quarterbacks as well. I'm just saying, man, Byrum Brown, for a lot of people, he's not on the radar. He should be because this young man can play.
Yeah, no, and it, like you said, taking them and putting them in their own vacuum, right? When you're able to isolate them and look at their physical tools and not look at the USF part, it will be interesting because you mentioned Jalen Hurts, but another quarterback that kind of went through that process of, hey, I'm in a good situation, I have some physical tools, and I've been a winner in college was Dak Prescott. People forget that Dak Prescott was a winner at Mississippi State. I remember because I was at LSU.
He also could Mississippi State too.
Yeah, he was running the football. Yeah, he utilized his legs. He was the fringe dual threat guy, right? Because he wasn't extremely athletic. His running had power element to it.
Yeah,
but he could tuck the ball and run. So I look at a Dak Prescott, and they're probably very favorable from a size and measurement perspective also. So I'm glad you had that call out, DP. And we got to do it, man. We talked about the good quarterbacks. We talked about the guys that elevated their draft stock this past weekend. We had to talk about those quarterbacks who draft stock fell. I'm sorry. And we'll talk about those quarterbacks coming up next.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers, Keith. Those stock falling performances, I thought this game, I felt like this was it could have been a trap game for Georgia against Mississippi State.
Yeah, so not to cut you off.
Yeah.
On Friday's show, I said that, DP. And then probably about halfway through this game, I thought about this podcast. and I said I led the people wrong. This was not a trap game.
It was not a trap game. Georgia came out and dominated. They clearly had some stuff they needed to get off their chest, Keith. And boy, did they. They got it off their chest pretty quickly. And Blake Shapen, I wanted to see him play well. I wanted to see him push the ball down the field. But yeah, he 20 dropbacks in this game. He was 10 of 15, complete 66, almost 67% of his passes, 86 passing yards. He only averaged 5.7 yards per attempt. His average depth of target was 5.8. That pressure was getting to him, like they were getting back there to him in the pocket and everything, man. And this was a guy that, like, I think you mentioned it, right? You kind of the Brock Purdy mold of, could be that kind of game manager, like get the ball out quick, be smart and instinctive quarterback and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I just need him to get the deep ball going with Brendan Thompson, right? I was like, if they can do that, because they had a good drive, and then they brought the backup quarterback. He's like a freshman. It's like 6'5", like 230 or something like that. They ran QB power, touchdown. You know what I mean? But after that, Georgia was strapping everything, and it was like, we're not giving you anything. And it's just, man, I don't know. It was a tough game to watch. Like at one point, I was like, is Kirby gonna put the backups in? Like what? Like how long are we gonna keep the starters out here? Because this is not like Mississippi State's not coming back, Kirby. Like you guys got you got them pinned down. They got nowhere to go, like and everything. But Blake Shapen, I wanted to see him play a little bit better, especially getting the ball down the field. Because not just Brendan Thompson, they actually have some underrated receiving threats at the receiver position, and everything. But they couldn't get anything going against that Georgia defense.
Yeah. No, I and to the Brock Purdy comp, right? Part of that was is there a little bit there, right, that you can work with? And me being completely transparent, like I gave Brock Purdy a 7th round pick, a 7th round grade coming out of Iowa State, and I felt good about it when he went in the 7th round, right? Yeah. But situations matter, right? He goes to San Fran, has some things around him, and he's able to make some plays. So I think you've seen what's the cap on Blake Shapen, right? Like not quite athletic enough to escape pressure, like, the other side of it. But I do think there's a couple physical tools, maybe potentially, like you said, the 6th, 7th round type of conversation. And I agree with you, just stock being in question after that performance against Georgia. DP, I got to go back, and this is, I had a saying that was yesterday's podcast with the cat in the hat and the bag and things like that. This one is kind of the horse, right? Kind of kick a horse, or however they say it, right?
Beat a dead horse.
Yeah, beat a dead horse. I'm sorry. I got to go back because I did some research, and I believe with the Garrett Nussmeier conversation, like this is it as far as eligibility. I looked at the bio, and there isn't much I don't think he can do, because I believe he had he redshirted already, so this is technically his 5th year in college. And just looking at this situation, and I'm not sure what the rebound is, right? Because I think they have 3 games left. I think they play maybe Western Kentucky. I think it's Western Kentucky, Arkansas, and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma has a tough defense on them. Yeah. Arkansas, you don't know what you're going to get, right? They could score 40 points. And the question is LSU offense going to score 25 points? That's right. The question. But I just look at Garrett Nussmeier in a vacuum, DP, and I don't know if we go back to what sometimes we say, strike when the iron's hot, like, should you have just come out last year and let it be, right? And I know there was conversation, and we probably talked about him coming back another year, but he makes yet another quarterback that, came back another year, and this is where we at. And I agree with you because you brought it up on yesterday's show about the Senior Bowl. Like all of those different pieces are going to be so very important to Garrett Nussmeier. But I think this is the topic of college football from this past weekend is Garrett Nussmeier, because in the Texas A&M game, I think it was a minor deal / big deal a little bit, right? But this game, with all eyes watching, a Bama showdown, prime time, right? Like everybody watching, and then this was the case. I think it was a little bit concerning, DP. Well, a lot concerning. If you're Garrett Nussmeier, it's which way do you turn? And then from an evaluation standpoint, what do you do with this? Like what do you do with this? Like the second, third round, fourth round, like what's the conversation around Garrett Nussmeier now? Like how do you, if you still want to stay aggressive on him, how do you rebound and make a case for that? If you're out on him, how out are you on him, right? Because if you wouldn't take him in the first and second round, so he's a relegated backup, so then he's a third, fourth, fifth round pick. Like there's a lot of things, and especially DP in a quarterback class that has a lot of quarterbacks that have the same kind of conversation around them, as far as they didn't play well neither. So where do you, which one do you pick? So it's a lot, DP, and I've just kind of, went through my thoughts over these past couple of days, and it's a crazy situation.
No, it absolutely is. And at the end of the day, like, you just hope, like, number one, like, you got 3 games left. Hopefully they start you the next 3 games. Like, you got benched.
That's crazy.
We don't even know what's going to happen with that. You know what I mean? Like, and if you had Keith, if anybody had said, hey, DP, Nussmeier is going to get benched at some point during the season, I'm like, you're crazy. Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? You wouldn't have been able to sell me that. I wouldn't have bought any stock in it, Keith. And it happened. And it's just, you just hope that he gets another chance to rebound. But LSU, to me, at the same time, they need to point the finger at themselves, because, again, the play calling isn't great. Remember the first week when they played Clemson, and I was sitting there. I remember I came back and I was unenthused by the offense. I was like, I don't like this play calling. I was like, you're not going to beat the best teams in college football throwing all these screens. And then they got Aaron Anderson blew up on one of those like middle screens.
Like
I was like,
swing pass kind of type situation.
And I was just like, why do y'all keep going back? Like, you've been doing it all season. Like, you know what I mean? So instead of him pushing the ball down the field, because you're like, hey, not be so aggressive. Well, now you're not aggressive and you're running the same concepts. And like, we're 11 weeks into the season, man. There's enough film to know this is your tendency. You want to get the ball out quick. You want to get it to these guys and make plays. So, no, I'm with you all the way there, man. Doubling down. Unfortunately, having to beat the dead horse. Kids, I'm going to close it out. This guy, his team won, but not because of him. Connor Wegman at Houston. Man, he had two touchdowns throwing. 20 of 31, 223, 2 passing touchdowns. He threw 3 interceptions and he fumbled in this game.
Wow.
But they end up beating UCF by a field goal, by 3 points. And it's probably because of the fact that UCF doesn't have a passing offense right now. And it's like, man, UCF really couldn't run the ball either. They only had 1 runner over 50 yards in this game. Like, so just kind of watching watching that situation unfold. Connor Wegman, a former 4 or 5-star recruit, had the tools and everything else. People were really high on him, and he never found his footing in college football consistently. And just to kind of watch how that game played out, like I said, 3 interceptions, a fumble. You can't have that stuff. You just can't have it.
Nope, you can't have it. But you know what you can have, DP? More Locked On NFL Draft. That's why you tap into your guys over here. And I just want to say shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I'm Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Coming up on tomorrow's show, guys, I got to talk about Deuce Robinson, man. The Florida State big transfer from USC. He went crazy against that Clemson secondary. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show on Watch the Tape Wednesday. So come join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.